Hello and welcome. My name's Bettina Ray. If you haven't been around here for very long, welcome to this little space of mine. So today I want to talk to you about expectations, and this was a topic that we explored in one of my women's circles recently at the studio, and it was really powerful. So I think it's worth bringing it to you guys as well, because I think there are some big changes that we can make and we need to make around the expectations we have of ourselves and of the people around us, of situations and of life. And I'd like to explore that topic a little bit with you today. So I want to start by reading you a quote, and I believe it's a Brené Brown one, but correct me if I'm wrong. And she says, "Expectations are resentments under construction." And when I read that, I feel like many light bulbs went off in my head. I think it's so true. Like, how many times do you future trip in your own mind? So you're thinking about, say for instance, when you pick up your child from school in the afternoon, you're thinking about how it will go. Maybe you've organised a special surprise for them and you pick them up, and for whatever reason they're grumpy and they get in the car and they're rude and they're hot and sweaty and they don't respond in the way you expect to this special surprise, and then you start feeling disappointed and cranky and resentful, like you don't appreciate what I've done, all the planning that I've gone in. But the negative feelings that you're feeling have nothing to do with the child, nothing to do with the fact that perhaps they've had a bad day at school, something went wrong, maybe they did badly on a test, someone said something negative to them. It has nothing to do with that relationship, although you're probably feeling that towards the child. It has everything to do with the expectation that you set up in your own mind for how that situation would go. Another example for you, an anniversary. What expectations had you set up in your mind for how that would go? Whether it be about the present, the effort that your partner would put in, how you would feel, what would happen. All of these expectations we set up around special events like anniversaries, birthdays, etc. And then the day actually came and none of that happened. And you feel hurt and you feel angry at that person for not being able to follow through with all those things you set up in your mind. And so you feel resentful towards them, and it creates this whole negative feeling about what may have actually been a beautiful day if you'd taken a step back and not future tripped and planned out in your head what it should look like. Maybe you would have enjoyed what actually did happen instead. So we have expectations around a whole number of things. We have them around our partners, our kids, goals that we're trying to create or things we're trying to achieve. So we have this idea in our head of what they're going to look like when we finally achieve them. And while I'm a big one for putting out there what you want to create, I think we also have to let go of the expectation of what it's going to look like when we get there or what it's going to feel like, because the expectation can kind of sometimes kill what we can achieve. So you might achieve something really amazing and you've done a lot of work and you've created this great community or whatever it is, but perhaps it doesn't meet your expectation of earning you $20,000 or whatever goal you'd set. And suddenly everything else is meaningless because you didn't meet that one single expectation, which in the scheme of things may not even be that important. So setting yourself up expectations around goals and events and things you're trying to create in your life can also bring a lot of disappointment. So I'd like to ask you now to do something. So you may want to pause this video after I ask this question, just write it down. So I want you to think about a disagreement that you've had recently. So a disagreement with someone or a problem or some sort of conflict that's come up in your life. And I want you to think about how your expectations played into that. So for instance, it might have been an argument with your partner. Where were the expectations showing up? So maybe you've had an argument about what happened of an afternoon. So maybe you had the expectation that they were going to come home and play with the kids so you could have some time for yourself. But what actually happened is they came home and they, went to the gym and did something for themselves because you never actually had a conversation about what you wanted. And instead of communicating what it is that you wanted and needed, you just expected them to be able to read your mind. I don't know why we do that, but be able to read your mind and know what your expectations were. So that expectation caused the argument, and then suddenly you're accusing them of being selfish, of never giving you time, and it explodes from there. So I want you to think about, where has expectations impacted you recently in a disagreement, in a conflict, in some sort of problem that's come up in your life. So once you've done that, you've thought of the situation that you have a feeling expectations have played a role in, I want you to think, what was the actual picture you painted in your head? So this is how we set up expectations. We think about an event or a scenario or a situation, and we start painting the picture in our head of what it's going to look like. What are the people going to say? How are people going to react? Which is the riskiest of all, because it will never respond the way we expect. What it's going to feel like, what it's going to look like. So go back to that picture that you painted in your mind before all the trouble started. What was it you were so specifically expecting that has created that feeling of disappointment? You might have expectations around family, thinking, you're my sister, so you have to do this for me, or you're my mother, so I'm allowed to talk to you like this. You're my husband, so you should clean up after yourself, take out the trash, accept it when I talk to you like rubbish, and still love me at the end of the day. And maybe you also have expectations of yourself. So maybe your disappointment is actually around what you've achieved or done. So whether you expected yourself to be somewhere by now, maybe you expected yourself to have more kids by now, maybe you expected yourself to be in a career by now, expected yourself to have lost the weight by now. So many expectations we put on ourselves that just cause us disappointment, dissatisfaction, and this make us feel like shit. So we've looked at our expectations. We know we're probably doing a lot of them, and we know that they're a source of dissatisfaction and pain in our lives. We know that we're creating our own suffering by setting up these unrealistic expectations. So what can we do about them? Let's look at why we create expectations. They come from a place of fear. So fearing what life is going to look like. We like to have this control around things, and we try to control situations, but we control it with our mind, and then the reality doesn't match up. So if we can instead come to all of our situations from a place of love, and I know it sounds totally woo-woo, and I know when you're in the depths of despair and disappointment, it can feel like, I cannot come at this person from love because they have disappointed me so many times. But there's always another side to the story, and the person that you're probably despairing about is probably also struggling as well. So if instead of coming at a situation or an interaction from a place of, they don't understand me, they don't support me, they don't love me, if you can come from it at a different angle, so from that place of love, and be like, they're fighting their own battles too. I need to communicate what I need. There is love here, but I need to communicate better. So coming back to that place of love wherever you can, and especially on the expectations of the self. Instead of expecting all these things and putting all these limits on yourself, can you just love and accept yourself where you are right now? Which is not to say that you don't keep striving for things. It's just, it's a different feeling to strive and try and achieve something from a place of, I want to do this, but right here, right now is perfect. I don't need to change anything to be happy. That's a totally different feeling than coming from it as, everything in my life is shit and I need to do this in order to be happy, and if I don't do this, I'm never going to be happy. It's a totally different feeling. One feels like really heavy and hard to get out of and hard to get into any sort of momentum or motivation. And the other one just kind of feels like light and easy. Like, you know, I'm going to give this a shot, and if it works, sweet. If it doesn't, oh well. And that is it's such a nicer place to come from. And it's a place of love because you love and accept yourself without the heavy pressure of any expectations of what you need to do. You actually don't need to do anything. You just need to be there and show up. And that's all it is. And we teach our kids this. We teach them, you don't need to win. You just need to try. You just need to be there. That's it. But we don't give ourselves the same compassion. So coming from that place of love and compassion can be the first step to really overcoming those expectations. So I'm going to pop into the studio a little meditation on overcoming expectations and choosing love instead. So if you'd like to practice this little meditation with me, it's a really beautiful heart-centered meditation. I'd love for you to join me over in the studio. You can start a free 30-day trial, so you can start that today, and you won't pay anything for 30 days. After that, it's $14 a month, so a cup of coffee, as the cliche goes. And it's a really beautiful space to connect with myself and other mums who are going through the same thing as you. So please pop over to the studio, join us over there for this heart-centered meditation. And I can't wait to connect with you again soon. Have a beautiful day. Namaste.